good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. This is James Senior Green and the Let's Talk Destiny podcast. I'm honored tonight to have a very special guest with me who always brightens my mood and brings a sense of humor that is contagious. And so tonight I'm excited to have with me one of my author friends. I met her as an author, but I came to know her as a friend. And Sylvia Hubbard-Hutula. Is that right?
It's Hutula, but that's
Hutula.
okay. Just
Say it
Sylvia
fast.
Hubbard is fine.
And y'all see she still giggles when she says her last name because she's still a newlywed. You have to forgive her for all that. But but that's my girl and one of my favorite mothers ever. And she is one of my favorite authors. So, Sylvia, tell us a little bit about the books that you write. What type of books do you write, and how many have you written?
Well, right now I think I'm gonna probably hit 60 by the end of this year. I'm
Wow.
on 59 right now, so and I know I'm trying to push a Christmas or a New Year's novel out, so it'll be officially 60 um by the end of this year. And usually I always write dark romance, high suspense novels, mostly based in Detroit, where I bring the struggles of real life from real people that I have either gone through or know. And I always say crazy needs love too. So, you know, from
Absolutely. And you do have some crazy characters in your book.
thank you. I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
Absolutely. So you can go ahead and share to your page. We'd also like to remind those who will be joining us tonight to be checking in to feel free to share the video. Also, we'd like to remind you to go to our YouTube channel, which is Let's Talk Destiny with Jamie Green, and subscribe to the channel. There are so many videos over there, conversations, life-changing conversations from that I've had with diverse people over the last 2 years. And I know that you will be blessed over there. So tonight, I have invited Sylvia to talk to us because early, I think when I first started the show, she was one of my guests. And we were talking about the gift of motherhood. And she made a comment that has stuck with me ever since. And it
Aw.
always makes me smile when she says it, when I think of it, rather. And she referred to herself during that previous conversation as the queen bee mother. That thing has really stuck with me, changed my whole outlook on mothering, that's for sure. So, Sylvia, Madam Queen Bee Mother, tell us exactly what that means.
Well, it means like in your household, you're there to produce and to uplift and protect the household, but you do have to use your little warriors around you in order to make that household stronger. So the workers, which are the kids, you're not there by yourself. A lot of people say, well, as a single mom, I'm trying to do everything by myself. But when you have kids, you involve them in the hive's strength, in the hive's workload, and everything. Yes, you are in charge. Yes, you do make sure things happen, but you involve everything. And then once you're the queen, there's only one queen.
That's correct.
And you make sure you keep your throne, but then you make sure that your workers know that you are the best queen for this job. On a day-to-day basis, they can see how much you do to make sure that this hive runs well, is strong, and will survive. It's all about survival, because
Yes.
nobody care about your hive but you. And if
Right.
you don't care about it and your workers don't care about it, it's going to weaken. So you want to make sure you're in that position of power to know all, see all, and do all, but also get the workers to help you, help me, help you.
Right. Exactly. Because that's one of the things, and you're so right. It's one of the things that I hear a lot from the single mothers that I work with in the under the Mothers Cry organization is they're so overwhelmed and they're so tired and they're so
Mm-hmm.
feeling broken and they feel like they just have nothing left to give. And a large part of that is because, like you say, they're trying to do entirely too much. Society has convinced us that to be good mothers, we have to do everything. And especially if we're in a single parent household.
Right,
It's like unless I fall asleep folding clothes, then I really haven't accomplished anything that day, is the way
right,
that is presented to us. But when you started talking to me about the queen bee mentality and what her job is in the hive and how the workers do what she assigns them to
right.
do, and it helps everybody in the hive to
Right,
be
because the minute that child can reach over the sink and turn the water on, guess who washing dishes? The minute I know you can turn that knob on the washing machine, I ain't folding clothes no more.
yeah,
You are in charge of that. So, but it's not only teaching them. It's not like, okay, then you're just being lazy. No, you're not. Not only are you teaching them that there is a job around the house. There's always a job around the house to do, but you do need a job. Everybody needs a job to help the whole household out. This is not just about the mom doing the work. It is about the family doing
right,
the work to keep the family running smoothly. So
absolutely.
I do hear my friends and my single moms cry out and like, Sylvia, how did you do this? How did you? I taught independence from the time you knew how to push the 30-second button on the microwave. You want something to eat? Go cook yourself something. You know what 30 seconds is. Count.
That. And how many children do you have?
Three that I know of, three that
Okay,
they would claim.
that is too funny. So
But yeah.
one of the other things that I learned from you is how important education is with regard to our children, which goes along with what you were just saying. You are teaching them by showing them how to do things in the house.
Mhm.
You're teaching them by saying, I'm not going to do everything for you because life is not like constructed that way. And
It's not.
once you leave my house, nobody's doing anything for you.
You're setting them up for failure. You're literally setting them up for failure, and you're raising their expectations to something that the world will never give them. So
That's
they
right.
have to learn. In my household, you could call my son today, and he will say he earned everything he got. When he wanted something, he had to earn it. If you want me to buy you that newest video game, then not only do you have to do the chores you're assigned, but I got cabinets that need to be cleaned, a garage that needs to be organized, a pantry that needs to be cleaned out and put back in. He knew that everybody knew there were always extra jobs to do. And if you wanted extra other than what I provided, you had to work for it, which in turn in life goes the same way. Soon as you walk out the door, you know the same lesson. If you want that extra stuff, you have to work hard for it. So it wasn't like, okay, yeah, you're going to get that just because you're my son. Nope. Nope, because I didn't have that kind of
Not at
money. But
all.
if I, yeah, because I knew I couldn't afford those things. But if I knew you made an extra effort and you were doing the best that you could, then I can see it. As the queen bee, I am always watching my hive and making sure things get done. And if I do see extra effort, I will reward it. And that's
Rewarded.
how life is. That's how life is. Oh, thank you, Deborah.
Yeah. She was a tough one, huh, Deborah? And then Deborah goes on to say, I learned a lot from her. And I have
Oh,
learned a lot
thank
from her
you.
too. My children are grown, but I learned a lot from you, Sylvia, as things I wish I had known when my children were
I wish I had known myself too, girl.
because now with the grandchildren, you can just forget it. My son is always saying, "Oh my God, you just let him do whatever he wants to do." And I'm like, "Oh, mind your business." Like I'm old, I'm tired, I don't feel good.
I'm
Like
not a parent no more. I'm a grandparent. That's a different level of parenting. We
exactly.
don't.
What in the world? Why don't they understand that, for God's sake? Now, I want Deborah said you're a thug. Um, I wanted to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Do you feel like, and this is another question that it comes to me a lot, especially from single moms. Do you feel that you owe your children a explanation or an apology when you've made wrong choices that have affected them?
Usually, when I make a mistake, I tell on myself. At the
Mhm.
time, I made a mistake, and that goes along with everything in my life. I tell on myself. I be the first one at work, be like, I know I'm late. I know I didn't do that right or something like that. So when I was a mom, if I made a mistake, I did correct it because I wanted them to know that if you make a mistake, you always can come back to me and say, "Hey, ma, that was a mistake," and I'm correcting myself. I'm not taking that butt whooping back, but okay.
Right,
But
right.
if I did make a mistake, it was it I don't feel me and my daughter usually go back and forth about this one. It was one time when my daughter did something that was really selfish, and it just was so deeply selfish. And she was at this fragile 13-year-old self. And I just said, Maggie, you are very selfish. You are very selfish, and you don't think about anybody but yourself. And I was being honest, but I was being harsh. And once it came out of my mouth and I saw the hurt in her face, I said, I know that I did. I said, I know that was very bad of me to say it so harshly, but I need you to understand who you are and that you need to make a lot of money so so nobody can tell you what to do because it's going to hurt you in the end if you have to depend on somebody else because I know this will never go away. This is who you are. And we I just said I had an honest talk. So she went back and she told my sister what I said and that her feelings was hurt. And my sister called me and she said, "Well, Sylvia, you hurt her feelings really bad." And I said, "I probably did, but I needed to be honest with her at that moment. And I did let her know I was very hurtful for saying that." And she said, "Well, are you going to apologize to her?" I said, "Well, it's nothing to apologize for if I was being honest, because then I'd be lying just to make her feel better." And so the story goes uh, about it literally 12 years later. She had to be about 25, 26, and the conversation came back up about her making enough money so she don't have to depend on nobody. And I said, "See, and that's why I said I called you selfish." She said, "I understand why you call me selfish because I am."
Right.
So,
See,
so
mama
I'm like,
knows, mama
okay.
knows.
So you gotta wonder, should I have apologized just to make her feel better? Or should you be honest? And I'm so glad that we had that kind of relationship where she knew I'm going to always be honest with you. No matter
Right.
what, I'm going to be honest with you. And if it does hurt your feelings, you can say it hurt your feelings. And we go from there. We talk and have a conversation and keep the communication open from there. And which is what we did. We kept open communication between that. And she was able to see what she needed and what she had to do in order to get her own stuff, which
Yeah.
she did.
That's wonderful. And I like that. But I like that you didn't automatically succumb to your sister's opinion about the situation because you knew, like you could see in the future what was going to happen.
Right.
And
Just like
you would,
Deborah said, we should know our kids. We should know our kids on a level that they didn't even know us, that
yeah,
know themselves, because we are actually the key to opening up what's great about them. And
absolutely.
what's great about them is everything that is good inside of you, because science does not deliver or build with bad material. So everything that was good in you is good in them, and you are the key to their greatness. So I have to be honest with them. I I have to be honest with everybody, or you can't be my friend.
Right. And you know what? And this is something that I've said for years, why it's important for us to watch our children, to observe our children, to listen to our children,
Mhm.
because you can see very early in their personality, you can see their strengths, you can see their weaknesses, you can start getting an idea what their passion is, what,
Right.
and you can start guiding them toward that, or you can guide them away depending on, you know, what it is they're trying to, you know, be a serial killer. We're going to kind of guide you away from that. But um, you, if you pay attention, you can see what they need and you can do that, which is again a part of the role for the queen bee.
Yeah, and you provide the security that they need to, and the confidence that helps them build towards their own life. So they aren't always thinking, okay, I'll just fall back on mom. But if I
Yeah.
gave you the security to know, be honest with yourself, be honest with the people around you, know who you are, because I know who you are, and this is what I'm going to tell you about yourself. Once they get past that point of 12, 13 years old, they don't always have to look behind them to see that I'm watching them. They can go with
Right.
the confidence of walking away. And you know, in yourself, you have poured everything in them that they need to step out in that world without you panicking, helicoptering over them, or anything. So, yeah, definitely.
I love that. Okay, so let's shift this question a little bit further um, to a different area. I
Okay.
had a mother say to me that her daughter found out about some of the things she had done in the past with regard to relationships and stuff like that. And, you know, so the girl didn't even know who her father was or whatever the case may be. And somebody else in the family told her, well, that's because your mom was, you know, sleeping with everybody in town. And so the daughter went to her mom and asked her, were these things true? And the mother responded, whatever I did in my past is none of your business. It has nothing to do with you. And so someone asked me how I felt. What did I think the mother should have said? So I'm asking you that question. What do you think the mother should have said?
I would have said the same thing, but then I would have added what I did, because my message is your message. What I did and the mistakes I made, um, I don't have a problem, and I think this is where a lot of women get it wrong. I don't have a problem with my children knowing I am human. I make mistakes with my heart, with my head, and with other parts of my body as I
I
was
know that's
growing
right.
up.
I know that's right, sis.
And because I want them to know that I'm not perfect. I don't know how to raise a 13-year-old snot-nosed kid who keep talking back to me. I don't
Yeah,
know how to raise a 15-year-old boy who can't figure out where he want to go in life. This was all new to me, every level that they were. But also, I don't know how to be a 39-year-old single mom,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and also a woman and a daughter, and a female. This is all new to me, and I always wanted my kids to know that I am your mom, but I am also human, and you
yes,
need to give me time to figure out what I want to do in my life, as well as figure out what I'm going to do with you until I don't have to care for you anymore. So yes, I would have told her what I did was my business, but this is what happened, girl.
Yeah. And see,
because
here, this
I
is
would.
what I said was what I did in my past really was my business.
Mhm.
However, if a part of what I did is impacting you, then let's talk about it. We're
Yeah.
not going to talk about it from a place of judgment. We're not going to talk about it from a place of condemnation. And
Mhm.
you're not going to tell me, well, you can't tell me nothing because you did this, that, and other. No, babe, we're not doing that. But since you came to me and asked me, let's sit down and talk about it. Yes, I did make some bad choices.
Right.
Um, and I look back over some things and I'm like, wow, I should not have done that. Maybe I should have tried something different or whatever. But it is the sum total of everything I've been through is what makes me the mother I am today.
Yes,
And
definitely.
I think more of us need to understand that because we come from a generation that's probably before my generation and some in my generation as well, that you don't ask no questions, you don't need to know nothing.
Right.
Just do what I tell you to do and keep it moving. And
Right.
then when our children started making these really crazy decisions based on advice from their peers because you weren't giving them any
Right.
advice, now you want to like go off because why would you do something so stupid? Well, because I didn't know it was stupid because you didn't tell me.
Right. And
Well,
I,
I
I
know.
let them, I let them know what I don't mind my kids knowing what I did. They come to me and they ask me, Mom, you ever did this? And I can honestly say to them if I did or didn't, because I've been sober the majority all my life, unless I was on some pain pills.
Yeah,
Because I don't drink or do any kind of other drugs. So I know if I've done it or not, and I can sit there and say, well, I've made that mistake before. I have been involved in that type of relationship. I know where this is kind of going
yeah,
because this happened to me. I don't mind my kids seeing me as a human. And,
that's
and
it.
that's where I was saying a lot of single moms don't get that wrong. They get that wrong because they think, okay, you're a mom, you're supposed to be like this. No, you're a mom and you're supposed to be however you feel you should be towards your kids,
That's it.
because no matter what, they'll have unconditional love for you. No matter what. I don't care what you have done, but if you come to them with saying, yes, I did do something like this and it did involve you, I know, and I have done that with my son. I've done that where we had a tumultuous, even before he was born, we had a tumultuous relationship. And I came to him and I told him about it. I told him about what I had gone through and what I had to go through in order to love him and be a better mom. But it took a long time. It took that whole 9 months for me to see that I could be a mom to someone like him. But once he knew everything I had gone through, and I honestly told him how I felt, I didn't sugarcoat it or anything. I know it took us to another level in
Right.
terms of having a relationship with my son. And
Absolutely.
that's what I just tell people is just be honest with yourself. And if your kids come to you, be honest with them. Don't do the Kirk Franklin story, please. Just
That's
tell
what
them.
it said. That just
You know,
breaks my heart.
yeah, don't try to look like a rose when you smell like crap. Just because you don't want your kids to see you any different, they still gonna see you as their mom. No
Yes,
matter what, they still gonna see you as their mom. You are their mom. It's up to you to let them know I am human. Humans make mistakes, and this is what happened.
that's right. Absolutely. I love that. So, do you, okay, looking at the mothers of today, okay, let's just say early 20s to mid 20s, okay,
Hmm.
what are some major differences that you see in the way they are mothering versus maybe what you would have done or what I would have done?
Well, I know for me, school does not stop at school hours. That's number one. School does not stop at school hours. I think they just came out with saying, there a lot of kids are not reading, writing, and on math on their level. It's not just a teacher's
Yeah.
job to teach and teach your kids, but it's also not a teacher's job to parent your kids when they're with. It is your job to not only parent your children but also help your children retain the information that the teacher has done. So you need to make sure you establish routine once your children go to school. And I know a lot of mothers who have a hard time with that. When the pandemic happened, I was wondering, why are people having such a hard time? They're like, oh my God, my kids' lessons are driving me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what happened to YouTube? Because we had encyclopedias, so y'all spoil.
Yeah.
So the job of a
Right, right,
parent
right.
doesn't stop just because you dropped them off at school. You still have to parent them even though you're not around. So that's where the queen bee element comes in, is that what would you do if I was standing beside you 24/7? That means when you in
Right.
class, you want to act up. Would you do that if I was standing there? If it's time to take a test, do you study for that test even if I'm not around? Even if I'm working 16, 18 hours a day, you have that test Friday. So if I say, okay, when you come home, this is your study hours, this is, you do it. You go ahead. So you make sure
Yeah.
that, that job that job to go to school is just as hard working as your job when you go into your job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what you do in school impacts what you do in life. And
That is
number
so true.
two is a go to the right method.
Yeah.
Teach your children how to act in public before you go in public. That's another lesson I've I've recently discovered as I interact. Right, routine. But also teach them how to act, how they're supposed to act in public before you go in public. So one of the word things I used to say is to my kids, don't let me be a mama in public. You
Yeah.
don't want me to be a mama in public. So if I have you do something at home and I say, okay, we're going out to the store, how are you going to act? This is how you're going to act. You are
Yeah.
not going to act like this. You're not going to act like this. And that's because you don't wait till crap hits the fan before you start trying to wipe it off.
That's right. And it's just
You
amazing. Like you see these parents, especially moms, and the kids are falling out and screaming and knocking stuff off the shelf. And the mother is looking like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Like he's never done this before. Yes, he has.
Yes, he
He
has.
didn't just wait till he got to this store to act like
You
that.
did not. This
He
was
was doing
always
that
in him, and you allowed him to get away with it. So you start small. The minute he can walk into a store is the minute you start teaching him. Okay, you make sure you tagging on my leg, because if I don't feel your tag, I will leave you. I don't got
But
to. I got three kids to keep up with.
Deborah said, don't touch nothing, don't ask for nothing, don't act a
Don't
fool.
act the fool. Right. So you start teaching them at home how to act before you go out in public. You teach them the etiquette of how to act in public. Now, it's a lot of times I would have a saying to my kids when I saw, like, they were triggered by something, or they just had to. I knew that their real, when your real kid is about to come out in public, and I'd be like, we can only do that at home. That's at home behavior. That's not out public behavior. And then they would reel it in, or we had a countdown. So I'd have a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you don't want me to get to one. You straighten up before you straighten up. So I had trigger trainings in place, because you don't want me to get to one, and you don't want me to act like a mama. So that's another thing I noticed, especially like parking lot etiquette. we're getting kids out the car in the parking lot or crossing the street etiquette. Little things like that, there people are not reiterating. So I have to worry about whether your child is going to shoot out
Right.
when they
Exactly.
get to a sidewalk, or they just run around crazy around the car, which we just saw that just the other day. And we're like, what happened to all of that? Because I
Yeah.
remember going to a stop sign and then just literally stopping and waiting for my
That's right.
parent to come, and then I'll hold their hand, and then we
That's
walk across the street, which is what I taught my kids. But yeah, or when I'm in a store or trying to walk somewhere, I gotta wait for you to wrangle all your kids so I can literally walk by because everybody is in the way.
that's right.
Yep,
That's
Deborah did
right.
the 3, 2, 1 is what.
That's right. And the thing about, you know what I noticed, like, and someone shared this with me, that they think one of the issues that is that my generation, and I'm much older than you, but we were brought up with the just do what I tell you to do. Don't ask me no questions. Don't, children don't talk when grown-ups are talking. We had
Hmm.
no voice. We were seen and not heard. We would get knocked on the floor if we said something that they thought was disrespectful, all of that. And so when we started having children of our own, we say, that's right, Deborah, because my mother was sitting in front of that church and just turn her head and look at you.
Look, right.
And you knew you better shut your mouth. That was it, period. But what happened was, what I'm seeing and what I've been told is, because they felt, or we felt, that our parents were so strict and so
Hmm.
stern and so unnecessarily hard, that when we started having children, we kept saying, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to treat my child like that. I'm not going to have my child in the room crying with their feelings hurt because I embarrassed them in front of the whole church or in front of the whole whatever. And so
And
we
see,
started
and see,
being,
that's why I would say to my kids, because I understand. Once I had kids, I understood why my parents were so strict. I understood why that totalitarian kind of dictatorship mentality needed to be done. It wasn't out of just to make your life miserable. It was out for your safety.
yeah,
So, but in turn, what I would go for my kids is that I would let them know this is not about me, it's about you. I'm trying to make sure you get to 18. That's all.
yeah,
My only job is to make sure you get to 18. Now, if we are out in public and you have a disagreement with how I do things, you wait till we get home,
yeah,
because you do not want me to act like a mom in public. You wait till we get home, then we can have it out. And you can say, hey, mom, I didn't like the way you said that. Or I really wasn't trying to touch anything. I was just looking at it real close and you jumped on me too soon. Okay, wait till we get home and talk about it. You're not about to stand up here and then I gotta show mommy up in public because you don't want that. So that's what that was. Do not make me act like a mom in public, and we cool. That means, okay, you came to me once we got home and said, hey, ma, this is what happened. This is what really happened. I really wasn't trying to touch that. This is what was going on. Or Maggie did it, or somebody else did it, not me,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and you said I did it. Okay, we talking about it at home. I'll remember that next time once we go out. And that's an apology moment. Okay, I apologize for jumping on you like that, but it did look like you was guilty of
yeah.
something.
That guilty look. Yeah.
Right.
And
So,
that's like, now I see more, as I was getting older and watching, I would see more mothers trying to be friends with their children.
and negotiate. Ooh, I ain't negotiating with nobody who can't pay taxes, number one. I refuse. I'm not negotiating with nobody who can't even get their own birth certificate without me.
Now that's funny. That is so true. Oh my
So
God.
at that point, we not negotiating, especially out in public. I'm not about to ask you to be quiet. I'm not about to ask you, could you wait? Or no, I'm not about to, no, we can't get that right now. No, no. The answer is no. When we get home, you can come back and say, well, why couldn't we get it? Do you got that get it money? Because if you don't got that get it money, neither do I.
And I'm not gonna stand here in this store and keep going back and forth with you. I say no. That's it.
Back and forth. It's like I said, you pay taxes. Can you get your birth certificate? Until then, there's nothing to talk about. You can't even touch the thermometer, the thermostat. Boy, bye.
That is too funny. That is, don't touch it. Don't even look over there. If you're feeling a little chilly, say, Mom, I'm
Get
a
a
little
coat.
chilly.
Get a coat.
And I'm going to say, go put that hoodie on. Yeah.
Right.
That
Never
is,
said no is a complete sentence. Yes.
yeah, that's like, I literally stand in the store sometime and I'm fascinated with what I'm seeing with these parents and these children. Like, little dude is barely going to the bathroom by himself and he's yelling at his mom, telling her how much he hates her and he don't touch me. And I'm thinking, see, this is why I didn't have children right in this area right here, because
But you
some,
literally do have it's once you become a parent, parents have to really realize it's a 24/7 job, and you have to not only prepare them for life, but everyday experiences, going out to the store, going out to the mall, going out to the parking lot, going, everything is a training experience. Even
yeah,
if I wake up on Saturday morning and I got a 2, 3, and 0. We gonna practice go getting in the car correctly. Just because we just gonna practice it, because when we get out in a busy area, I don't want to have to worry where's the 3-year-old while I'm trying to buckle in the 0, and where's the 2. Did he disappear somewhere? Or something like that. So we would practice constantly for different experiences, just in case we had this come up. So definitely I say practice with your kids. There's always a teaching moment. And even when we were out and about and we saw like another parent and child situation, I would turn to them when we got home and remind them, you better not do that with me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You bet. That was a learning moment where this is not gonna happen. If that happened to us, then this is not gonna happen. Even when we're watching a movie, the crisis situation happened. This is what you do in that. The house is on fire in the movie. Okay, this is a learning experience for us. So every moment is a teaching moment with you and your kids. Everything you see, everything you read, everything you guys do together is a teaching moment, and you shouldn't let it just go by. You should get that full experience, get them to talk
Absolutely.
back and forth with you, communicate the issue before it even happens, and go from there. And when I tell you, it will save you time, stress, and energy when that emergency happens, or that moment happens. You're going to thank me later. You're going to be like, thank you, Sylvia, for doing that, because it does. And you come home and they know that, okay, a crisis just happened. Okay, this is how we handle it. You handle it really well. You remembered. Like it was a moment where my son got lost at Target. Well, I forgot him. I'm just tell you that I forgot it. Like I said, if you wasn't grabbing the leg, and it felt like the leg was grabbed because my daughter had decided to grab both legs. So I'm thinking, okay, I got 2 kids and a baby. I get there, putting the baby in the car. I look around and I'm like, where's my son? And Maggie looking like, I think we left him in the store. He back there. She literally said back there and pointed to the store. So I put her in the car, told her to watch the baby, ran back. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody found this boy and took him to Lost and Found. I go up to the concierge and they're like, no, we don't have a little kid, but they do have a problem over in the section, such and such section. So the rule was, if you got lost, stay where I left you.
Oh, okay.
So I go over to the section where I left my son, and there's these two officers trying to convince my son to let go of the rack so they could take him up, but he knew that's where I left him, and he
And
was
that's where he was
eventually.
supposed
So he knew the rules. If you get lost, stay where I left you, no matter what. Don't go with nobody. I'm gonna come back
to. Now,
eventually
that
for
is
you.
funny.
Maybe.
And what did the officer say?
So, and
That
that's
girl
what
said,
happened.
"Baby."
He stayed exactly where I left him. They were trying to get him to go. They was enticing him with candy and drinks and pop. Girl, they was just giving him the world. Zach wasn't letting go of that rack because he knew his
That
mama
is
was coming
funny.
back for him.
Now that's precious. Wow. Dude said,
And I
I'm
think
not going
he had to have been only maybe about 6 years old. But he knew that was the rule. If I leave you somewhere, stay there so I can
nowhere.
find
Yeah,
you.
me. Wow.
So, hey, I had prepared him that's one of the things we got prepared for. If you
Yeah.
get lost, do this. If you can't see me, do this. Call out, do this. So he got prepared. I've always prepared them for what was to come.
Well, I'm glad you went back and got it. Thank you very much. I
Girl,
appreciate that.
if it wasn't for that tax return, whew,
That girl is funny. Okay, so now I want to ask you this before we run out of time. What do you see is the major difference in, or how would you verbalize the major difference in mothering children, small children, and adult children? Do your children still come to you for advice, or?
amazingly they do. I'm always shocked. And so we always have a thing when you have a problem, even when they were little, when you have a problem, let me know you try to figure it out. Don't
Okay.
just say, "Ma, I have a problem," and then I'm making suggestions. Oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. So what they do is when they have a problem, do everything in their power to try to figure out the problem before you come to me. And then when you come to me, you let me know the problem, and then you tell me everything you did to try to figure it out. And then we go from there. So even in when they come to me with adult problems, it's literally almost the same thing. Yeah, Ma, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. And then we go and we can have an open conversation. Like I said, I've always communicated with them and they've always communicated back to me. The difference in handling, and I did have to learn this because it's kind of a let go, let God kind of thing. So when they're small, and I would say under a 14, 13-year old, kind of small, and they have a problem and they come to you and they've done what they could. As a mom, you can go and say, okay, probably better if you just do it this way,
Yeah.
and then you can figure everything else out. And then after the 13, 14-year old, I made
Yeah.
suggestions of, did you try this? Would you be interested in trying this? Because I didn't want it to
Gotcha.
seem like I was making the decision for them. I wanted them to see themselves making their own decisions, because then I didn't want them to come back and say, well, you told me what to do and you always telling me what to do, because that third brain will make them get slapped.
Hello. Like a reactionary slap.
Right. It's a reactionary. And I know like that third brain gonna come in and say, well, you just told me what to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I do is that after 13, 14, and I learned that from my dad. He suggested that I do that because I wanted them to start thinking more for themselves and
Yeah.
would they really take my advice. Or I sit back and say, well, give them suggestions of this, and this, A, B, C, D, whatever you decide, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But choose in the best interest of yourself and your future self of what you're going to do. So, and then that goes all the way up now until they're adult. When they come to me for advice, most times I know that they're just coming to me, they've already made the decision,
Yeah.
and I already know what they want. Like Deborah says, like you kind of know like what your children already want to do, and they're just coming to me to say, okay, this is the decision I want to do. And then I just sit back and say, okay, well, what would be the outcome of this decision once you do it?
Right.
So then we talk about like what's going to happen if you do it this way. And was there another way possibly? And then you try to, as a mom, minutely suggest
Yeah. Yeah.
the better decision. So yes, there are two ways to do it. When they're younger, you can just say, do it this way,
Yeah.
and let's just keep it going. But then after you
It's-
know that that adult brain is trying to come in, give them suggestions and have them work it out within themselves, because it's going to be fundamental for them to have that start learning common sense for themselves,
Right.
start learning thinking skills for themselves, instead of you, like I said, being the helicopter parent and making the decision for them. Because there's going to be so many more times they need to make decisions on a fly by themselves, and they need to
Right.
learn that skill as early and fast as possible.
And you won't be anywhere around to help them. So they need to
Right.
learn that. Yeah. I think it's so important, everything you've said tonight, even in the humor, which I absolutely love that it is a part of who you are and you're part of your personality. And it's funny to me, this is not what I was getting ready to say, but about the humor part. Like people keep saying to me, "Oh my God, you're so funny and you're hysterical." And one lady says she just really just comes to my page because she knows that I'm going to say something. And so I'm thinking to myself, I don't even think I'm funny. Like,
I don't either.
I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Like, what? Like, sometimes I'll say something to somebody, "Oh my God, you're so," and I'm thinking in my head, that was not even funny. Like, I didn't mean for it to be funny. And I noticed that about you. I think that's one reason why I enjoy talking to you, is the humor that comes out even with your truth. What do you feel? How do you respond when somebody tells you that you're just hilarious? Like, you really are hilarious. What
I,
is your response?
I want them to pay me for the show.
I love it. I love it.
I will
I
send you my cash app if you thought that was hilarious. I'm here all week. I can charge.
That
But
is fun.
I think I think my way of thinking is because I'm a testament of, and I can sit back and laugh at myself now. There were days when I couldn't find nothing funny, but
Yeah.
now as I get older and I have made decisions for myself, I can look back and say, you did the best you could with what you had. And I can only thank God that I'm alive
Yes.
and healthy, um, despite all the decisions I felt like at that time were not the best, or I doubted what I was or what I was doing. So, yes, I have to sit back and laugh and just be grateful and thankful that I've gone through the fire, and I did get burned a couple
Yes.
of times, but
Yes.
I'm still here. And you just, that's the only thing that the world can't will not take away from me, is my smile. So the fact that I can sit there and chuckle about it to myself,
Yeah.
is a blessing. Is a blessing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that because, like you said, at each stage of your life, in each stage of your journey, you do the best you can with what you have at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy for people sitting on the sidelines watching you to say, well, if I was you, I would have never done that. Well,
Right.
realistically, if you were me, you would have did exactly what I was doing because you were me.
Right.
So, ha ha ha, how about that?
Right.
So, but
But
it's
then when people do know the story, the what I went through, it's really awesome when they come back and say, you know what? I don't think I would have been that strong. I don't think I would have been able to get back up. I don't think I would have been able to handle everything that was going on. And it makes you really proud to know that the decision you made at that time was the best decision, and that
yes,
you are there to tell to tell the testament, to
that's
show
right.
your story, and to be able to give people that insight. And that's why I mean, I love when people do say, oh, I've come from this.
Yeah,
And they'll be, but then I get upset when they're upset about it. Well, this what happened to me. Don't be upset be that it happened to you. Be upset that you went through it and it's still there. You should be
yeah,
really glad about it. You should be joyous about it, that you still are in healthy, almost good mental condition.
almost. Yeah,
Because we all got to be just a little bit crazy to get through this world. There's no perfection, and there's no good way. And then when people say, well, I wish I would have did it this way, don't ever wish the decisions you made in the past could have been changed. Just say, hey, it was a mistake. I'm smelling my crap, and keep it going. That's
yeah,
all you can really do. You just love your crap, and you'll feel so much better. Just, just go. Just go. It's okay. You crap. Let's go. It was crap, and let's go. So that's what I
yes,
just tell people, because we will literally drive ourselves crazy because of mistakes we made.
that's
and
right.
and that will pull us down, along with pulling our life, pulling our joy, pulling our what blessings we could possibly have
Right.
away from us, just because you can't get out of that rut. A
Yeah.
mistake is a mistake. Own it, love yourself still, and keep going.
Keep it going. And this is like one of the things that I try to teach people all the time. Yes, I messed up. Like that really was one of the craziest things I could have ever done, but I'm still here. And so now
Right.
that I'm still here, I can share with you what I went through and how I got out of it. But if you're 10, 15, 20 years past an event that you have allowed to become your identity, that's a bigger problem than the
It's
fact
a
that you
bigger
haven't even
problem.
had the event. Yeah,
Right. I
absolutely.
say I say if it was a mistake, or if it even if it wasn't a mistake, it was just something tragic that happened to you, check for bullet holes. If it's none, keep it going.
Look, if you don't look like Swiss cheese, just keep it moving. Yeah,
Keep it going, because the effort and energy that you put in for crying about that mistake is the energy and effort you could be doing to keep going and find a better way of life.
absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That is so
So
true. That is so
that
true.
that's what I say. That's what I've always learned, and that's what I've always been taught, uh fix the problem now, cry later. But just keep it going. Don't stop. Don't stop your life right then, and just keep it going, because like I said, that energy, man, it's so much energy in sadness and depression, and all those other miserable, just being feeling miserable, when you could be
Absolutely.
using it towards making your life just a little bit better, making people, your kids around you, life a little bit better, and keeping it going.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, Miss Sylvia, I absolutely, once again, have enjoyed our conversation and picked up some jewels and some
Thank you.
nuggets from you. And I just did not want this year to end without me having you back on the
Aw,
platform one more time, because you bring such light and life um, to the form, to any environment that you're in. I'm sure it's changed by your very presence,
thank
and
you.
never will be the same again. Um, but I am so grateful that you and I have connected. You are such a blessing to me, and we're gonna, stay in touch and do more in the upcoming year.
Thank
Um,
you.
but I'm just excited about what you're doing and how what you're doing is blessing so many other people. And sometimes we don't even realize that we say something and then we move on from what we said. But there's just maybe one word, two words, three words that you can say that will change the trajectory of somebody's life. And tonight, I absolutely believe that there were some words that you shared that those who are listening and those who will be listening in the replay, life will be changed for the better. And I absolutely love you, Queen Bee Mother. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And again, I'd like to remind everyone to please go to our YouTube channel, Let's Talk Destiny with Jamie Green, and subscribe. Help a sister out. And keep us in your prayers. And may the peace of God be with you. Okay. Thank you so much. Good night.